I just finished the brand new Netflix series First Kill by Victoria Schwab this morning, and although I didn't like the show, I also didn't hate it because I think it has a lot of potential that if it works on it, future seasons, because I believe the show's probably going to get greenlit for another season, could be great. Now, if you haven't heard of First Kill, the premise of First Kill is essentially a Romeo and Juliet story told with a supernatural twist. It is about Calliope and Juliet. Calliope comes from a family of monster hunters. Juliet is a vampire that comes from a family of legacy vampires, and the two of them fall in love, which obviously causes complications in their relationship and exterior lives, as it did in the story of Romeo and Juliet when those two fell in love. Now, I can't in good conscience recommend you this show because on a personal level, I found the first 4 episodes out of this 8-episode season extremely boring. I didn't like that it only focused on the romance between Calliope and Juliet because I found it to be the most boring part of the entire show. I think the other characters in the show are way more entertaining, and of the show is more entertaining than the story that's being told in it. I think Calliope's the weakest character in the show. Her emotional status is very fluctuating and it changes a lot, which didn't give me a solid feel for how she is as a character and what she wants out of everything. She kind of switches between being like, I'm a monster hunter too, I love this vampire girl, I'm a monster hunter, and it happens like very fast and multiple times throughout the course of the entire show, and I didn't really like that because it didn't give me a solid feel of who she is as a character. The plots in the first 4 episodes change so often. It's like, this is a story about these two people that live lives that the other doesn't know about, to this is a story about these two people now are in a war with each other because they know who each other are, to these two people are in a relationship despite all the chaos it's causing. And it's just like, you keep like starting a plot line and then dropping it and starting it and then dropping it, and it just, I didn't like that in the slightest bit. It was just too much. It's like, you set up one story, I'm invested in how it's going, and then it's like, oh hey, twist, we're going to this kind of story now. It's like, okay, and then it's like, oh hey, twist, we're going to this story now. So I didn't particularly appreciate that, and I think this story in particular is wasting that it's in. It's kind of like the movie Bright. The story told in the movie Bright didn't really feel grandiose in comparison to the world that they created in it, and that's how I've been feeling about First Kill. I also didn't like the music choices for a lot of the scenes. They were either very on the nose for what's happening in the scene, or it was generic pop music that's popular. So I didn't particularly care for any of that. I did like the theme song, though, that's set to animated backdrop. I did enjoy that. I didn't like it in the first episode, but as I kept watching the episodes, it kind of like started to earworm its way into my head, and I started tapping along, and I was like, I kind of like the song. It's not bad. So if First Kill does get better with future seasons, I will, recommend it accordingly. But as it stands right now, I can't in good conscience recommend you watching the season if you're just someone who's looking for like a cool monster show to watch. But I will say, if you are someone that enjoys shows like Riverdale, Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, etc., or if you're like a young romantic teenager in the prime of your youth, I think you'll enjoy the show because it's definitely for that demographic of people. That being said, I'm going to move to the spoiler section now. If you don't care about spoilers, then please watch ahead. Or if you are someone who has seen First Kill and are curious about what I have to say about what can improve the show, please continue to watch. That being said, everyone else, it was nice meeting you. I hope you come back in the future. Now, here I go. So, I believe First Kill, if it does get another season, like I believe it will, because I did see it was like trending on Netflix, it needs to focus more on the world building. I think Victoria Schwab has a lot of heart into the story and the world that she created, because at first when I saw the trailer, I thought this was just going to be a show about vampire and vampire hunters. Like it was going to be that cut and dry. But it's not. There are other types of monsters in the show, and I found that really interesting. So if it focuses more on the world building, I think the show could definitely evolve into the future. Because as it stands right now, the world building is extremely inconsistent, despite how interesting it is. Like in episode 2, Theo and Apollo, Calliope's brothers, go and speak to a monster hunter named Cook, and he alludes to the fact that people believed in monsters a long time ago, but they've forgotten that monsters exist, and they don't act accordingly in the way that people would if they knew monsters existed. However, that is completely thrown out the window when you get to episode 5. And in episode 5, a zombie breaks into the high school that Juliet and Calliope go through, and they cause an alarm to go off, and people are like,
Cal, it's the monster alarm.
I was like, wait. I literally paused the show. I'm not kidding. I paused the show and I was like, hold on a second. You told me in episode 2 that monsters exist, but people don't believe they exist anymore. But now I'm in episode 5, which takes place like a few days after episode 2, and there's a monster alarm in the school, and people know what it is. And then it doesn't help that as the show progresses, there's like this Karen organization that wants to hunt monsters because they believe that the town isn't doing its job properly. And they're like
25 years since the guild came through and cleaned up, and now they're just sacked?
ago. And I'm like, I'm sorry, a decade? That's not long at all. Like, you're telling me that over the course of 10 years, people act like monsters don't exist? Just because you haven't seen one, that doesn't mean they're all extinct, especially given the fact that how many different kinds of monsters there are in existence. So if regular Karen knows what a monster is, but they just act like they haven't existed, like, that's ridiculous. Because, like, I'm getting a little dark for a second, there have been terrorist attacks and natural disasters that happen. And after they happen, people don't just immediately forget that they happened and live lives as if they're never going to happen again. That's ridiculous. We have precautions and, safe places in place for when those catastrophes potentially could happen again. We don't just forget they exist. Or, like, as a kid, I learned what a fox was. I had never seen a fox until like 3 weeks ago. I'm 23. So I didn't go, like, read a book that foxes exist and then go, I haven't seen one, so no, they're not real. And then 3 weeks ago, I was like, oh, wow, they are real. I'm surprised. No, that didn't happen. I believe they were real because I was told about it. I learned about it. And then I just happened to see one a couple weeks ago. That's how I feel like this world should act. People should know monsters exist. They should act accordingly to it. And even if they're a little lackadaisical in their preparations, they should at least be prepared to some degree. But that's not the case. Everyone just acted like they didn't exist, which is what I believe was the case at the beginning, because the Monster Hunter Society that Calliope is a part of, called the Guild, is a secret society. If monsters exist, why are monster hunters a secret society? Like, it works like in the show Supernatural. The hunters in Supernatural are a secret society that people don't know about because monsters aren't supposed to be known. People don't know that monsters exist, at least in the earlier seasons of Supernatural. I didn't finish Supernatural. So it makes sense that they're a secret society. Fine. But then you get here, and it's like, okay, so if monsters exist, and people know that monsters exist, why are monster hunters a secret society? Like, why aren't they ingrained into the government or the police force or something like that for when a monster does appear? Or let them be their own society and organization, but they're just hired like mercenaries to hunt down monsters. Why are they a hidden society with a ton of resources? This doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why this is the case. Another issue that it has, I don't understand how their Monster Hunter Society works. It's like there's an episode where we're told that if Calliope's family kills Juliet's family in the episode where they attacked her house, that they will go from Blade class hunter to like something class hunter. And I was literally sitting there like, wait a minute, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does this classification mean? I don't know anything about this society, so like, why is this supposed to be important to me? Like, it doesn't make any sense in that regard. So that's a big issue that this show has. It kind of just drops world building elements and either throws them away when it wants to cause something to happen in the show, or they don't explain what's going on. Like the whole thing with vampires, I don't understand anything about the lore of vampires in this show. Like, originally, when the show started, I thought they were just stereotypical vampires. They can't go out at night, they have super speed, super strength, they need to drink blood. I thought that was going to be the case. But no, these vampires, they have reflections, they can go out in the sun, they haven't shown to do any superhuman strength feats, so it took 2 of them to lift a dead body and throw it in a lake, so I don't think they have super strength. I don't know if they have super speed, because there was like a weird scene where Juliet's sister Eleanor did like a weird run thing, and it made me think she had super speed, but then she never does that later again in the show, so I don't know. It's a very confusing bag, because we don't get explained on these world building elements that are supposed to keep you invested in the series. Like, you can tell your story, but it has to explain the world to keep me enveloped in it. And that's not what this show does. So going forward, I would really hope that the show explains the world, because surprisingly enough, I really like the world of First Kill. Like, one of the things that definitely hooked me was in episode 5 when they fought the zombie. The zombies in the universe of First Kill, they more or less act like normal zombies, except they are super fast. Like, they legitimately have super speed, and they can speak and like trick you into like trusting them so they can eat you. And I'm like, that's cool. That's a unique take on zombies. I like that. I want to see more of this. But they don't. Like, it happened in that one moment, and it's just left at that. It was used as a plot device for the character of Calliope to get her first kill on a monster. It wasn't like, hey, this is an established thing that we brought up earlier, now here it's coming back to compact into the story. It's not what happens. And that really bothers me, because I don't like lazy world building, and that's what this show has. So it focuses on the romance, which again is the least interesting part. Every other character in the show is more interesting than this romantic couple, which sucks because that's the driving force of the show. So I would really like the story to focus up, solidify its world building elements in the future, and as it progresses, I would like to see the story interact with that more. Like, give me an established status quo. Explain to me how the vampires work. Like, I don't understand the whole thing with the snake. What does the snake do? Like, the whole thing, like, a big part of the show is that Juliet needs to kill someone. She has to make her first kill. But after she does it, her bloodlust is still there. Like, they made it seem like if she killed someone, her bloodlust would go away, but it doesn't. So, like, what's the point of killing someone if it doesn't stop your bloodlust? You might as well just drink blood on a regular basis to quell it. That's what it seems to be the case anyway, because I don't get it. Why was her first kill so important then if it doesn't cause her bloodlust to go away? Like, I genuinely want to know. Like, what's the point of all these rituals and these traditions and this hierarchy that you vampires have? I don't understand it. You don't explain it to me. You tell me that you're descendants of Lilith from the Bible and the Garden of Eden and the snake that she liked. But I don't know anything beyond that. Like, why do you have this, like, magical snake? Why can it turn other vampires into, like full-fledged vampires with pure blood? Why is it now currently inside Juliet's father, and, like, why is he, like, part snake now? Like, I don't understand all of this stuff that's going on. You're not explaining the world to me. You're just like, hey, here's a thing. We're moving on now. And it's like, I don't understand what you just showed me. So please, going forward, I would very much like this show to solidify its world-building laws and move forward according to those laws. Because I think if you do that, the show could be fantastic. So if it does get greenlit for a second season, I'll definitely check it out, and I hope it does improve in that aspect. So yeah, I think that's about it. That wraps up this video. If you liked First Kill, if you didn't like First Kill, if you have thoughts about what I brought up in this video, please comment down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. And that being said, I am the Innocent Villain, and remember folks, you're innocent until proven villainous, and I'll catch you in the next one.